Welcome to the Victory Multisport podcast. This is Coach Sarge, and I'm with Coach Scott.
Hey there.
Coach Kenny.
Good morning, everybody.
And a special guest, Taum Minnock, otherwise known as Tugboat. How you doing?
Good. How you?
That's great. That's great. So back again for another episode of our podcast. We have a special guest. We'll get into all of your accomplishments, your dreams, a little bit of the struggles that you went through getting to where you are today. But I think you're well known in our athlete circles. So I want to kick it over to Kenny to, get us going on how, because you guys met for the first time out of the group here and wanted to talk more about that.
It is funny because he's known in several different names. I've heard in the last week, oh, he's a gangster. He's a legend. That guy just swims. Like it is funny. There's so many different things people say about you. But I can vividly remember, Tom, I think it might have been 2011, maybe.
Yep.
And I was scared, like beyond scared, to go. And I signed up for an Ironman. And I think, Sarge, you and I were walking into Cranberry YMCA at 5:30 in the morning. We knew nobody. Yeah. And I remember seeing you laying on your back in the water with your hands above your head, just kicking, swimming down to the other end. And you had like a wink or something. You made some sort of funny face to me. And I'm like, oh, that guy seems like he's okay. Little did I know. I mean, anybody that I've often said, when you first see Tom, you always think he's grouchy or he's mad or he's a sore butt because you looked like you were mad, but you were training for an Ironman. And that was the first time I think I ever had an interaction with you, was that day we were both training.
Yeah, it was. It was the first day we met. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just had, just good to meet you at that time.
Oh, yeah. It was funny because I think it happened to be, we started like meeting up here or there, like, hey, let's get out there, let's run, this or that. And here it turned out to, we showed up at the pool one time, and I'll always remember this. And we were both like, we have a couple 1,000-yard swim. And next thing you know, some guy's like, I'm training for an Ironman. I'm going to block up this lane. And you're like, yeah, we are too. And you just jumped in, got in front of him and started to swim. And I was like, my man doesn't
put up with anything, does he?
He does not.
No nonsense. So talk about when you first started at the Y. I mean, I guess that's the first place you started swimming, was the Cranberry YMCA?
That's the first place I started swimming religiously, trying to get something done.
Right. Yeah. So that was 2010,
2011.
2011. Okay, yeah. So right around the same time that Kenny got started with his first.
Right.
Hey, Tom, tell
so how did that go?
Yeah. That's what I want to know about. You weren't born a triathlete, were you?
Not at all. I was born a little short, fat kid. And so my first triathlon actually came in North Park at the North Park pool. So I happened to see a sign one day that said triathlon. I said to my wife, I'd like to do that one day. And she kind of laughed at me, like, because I drank and smoked. I didn't run. Right? None of that was in my life. Mm-hmm. But so I eventually we joined the Oxford Club, and they had one there. So I tried it. And swimming was something I thought I did, but it was more just playing in the water. So it was a 500-yard swim, I think is what that sprint was. And I'm swimming, and I'm like dying. I'm on my back, I'm kicking. Just all of a sudden, I see this lifeguard walking up and down with me. And she has a donut, or lifesaver, whatever. And so I'm like, that's not for me. I'm not getting out. I'm going to finish however I do. And so I eventually did finish on, and I swam on my back, my belly, and however I could get through it. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, it was like I enjoyed it. I want to continue and just keep on working.
Well, when you saw that sign for the YMCA, how old were you?
48.
So you weren't like 21 or 22, and you just said, hey, I want to do a triathlon. You were in your 40s.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you saw that lifeguard, probably a 20-year-old, right, walking with the saver buoy or whatever, right, to just keep an eye on you. And I think, just to reiterate what you said, that getting pulled out of the water was not for you.
No.
Right? You weren't about to let her, pull you out of that water. You were going to make it no matter what.
Right.
Figure it out.
Quitting's not an option.
That's right. So.
And
that, you described yourself as a young person. I'm not going to repeat that. But I would say, I would add your Irish heritage to that, right?
Yep.
And the toughness that is very well known for the people of Ireland.
Bullheadedness.
Yeah, stubborn,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
Wanting to fight a ham sandwich and eat a drop of a hat, right?
Yep.
But your family really came over. Your parents, right?
Yeah,
Came over
I'm the
from
first
Ireland.
generation. Yeah, my both my parents are immigrants. My mother was from Galway, and there's nothing but ocean and rocks there. And my father from the Midlands, and in a town called Offaly.
Yeah. But I think you bring that spirit, the spirit of the harsh weather, the rocks, the ocean, slamming against the island in Ireland, to everything you do in life, and especially into the sport. So it's been awesome to come alongside you in that 2011, 2012 timeframe, and train with you, see you volunteering at my races in Lake Placid. You've helped me out just by being there, and then race with you later. It's been really, really awesome.
Hey, Tug, what clicked after that first experience? Because obviously you've stuck with this. You've been incredibly successful. Where was your head after that first race?
Just trying to get better at doing what I was doing.
Yeah?
Yeah. And, I tell people I enjoyed doing it. It sounds odd, enjoy doing, long swims, long bikes, long runs. But there's something about it that just, you've accomplished that goal that you set out to do. And so it's just that. And the other thing that gets me is you guys being with a team of people that just energizes you and tells you, good job, keep moving, let's go. That, that's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Tom, when you did the first triathlon, did you have a young family at that point?
Yeah. My kids were, I guess the youngest would have probably been about 10.
So 10.
Yeah.
So, and you have 4 girls, correct?
Four girls.
So 4 girls, and the youngest was 10. So did they get to watch you that day?
Oh, actually, I think I went by myself.
And that would be a typical, because you've always deflected everything onto anybody else. So I could see you just showing up and saying, I'm just going to go in and do this.
Yeah. I don't recall them being there, but they follow me now.
Oh yeah, we see it. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So-
Yes, I mean, your daughters have volunteered. They've shown up and spectated. I know McDara, would volunteer in the medical tent during your races and our races. So I'm sure it's awesome to have them come out and be with you. I know, even from my perspective, my kids made little signs back in the day. I think we had a big fat head of Kenny's face at a couple races, and Scott's girls have always been there for him as well. So it's awesome to bring them along.
It is.
Tom, when you did that first sprint, what was the next pocket of time before you went back in and did another triathlon?
Probably a year.
A year.
Yeah, probably the next one I did was in North Park.
The North Park Tri.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you started with a little indoor triathlon at the Oxford Club,
Yep.
then you went to the outside sprint.
Yeah.
What's your the trajectory? Did you then go right to Ironman, or did you do some Olympics?
I did a few Olympics, a few halves, and went to Tennessee and did one down there, a couple of them down there. And so that was it. Probably just started small.
And were you kind of like a one-man wolf pack when you did these?
I was.
So you were just chopping wood and doing your own thing?
Yeah.
So when we met you at the YMCA, would that have been the first time you started doing group training?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's-
No, you don't take that back. I did do one in Philadelphia with a group before that, but that was that would have been my second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we met up with you, what was your why here? So when you're chasing these things, what made you say that triathlon is really where it's at? This is what I want.
The challenge, I think, is just just doing it, just going out there and prove it to myself, or that I can push myself to do things, and it works. So.
Yeah, and did you have anybody that picked out that race with you, or because the Lake Placid it was no joke?
I had a buddy of mine that we've been together in a group every Friday. We meet. Ed, his name's Ed McQuaid, and he was doing Lake Placid a few years earlier, and I went up to see what it was about. And the energy that's in Lake Placid is just, there isn't any energy anywhere else like it. It's unbelievable. The people are right there, right on the street, right, just cheering everybody on. And I thought that would be a nice place to go and try it.
I love it.
That's pretty cool. I didn't realize you went there first just to check it out.
Yeah,
just
'cause
as
I never
a spectator and soak it in. Yeah.
Well, I think
That was the hook.
I think, Scott, that we're going to find out a lot of things today because Taum is a very quiet guy. He keeps things to himself, except when you hear, "Hey, did you ever hear the one?" Then you know, there's a pretty uncomfortable joke coming.
Yep.
That usually he's laughing before the punchline comes out. But I'm still kind of blown away by the fact that your very first triathlon, because people see you, and then we'll go back to talk about Placid, but people see you as the guy that he's the channel swimmer. That's as they say, as the young kids say, that's him.
Right.
He's Himothy, that's the guy. And to know that you were almost pulled out of the pool your very first race, but you said that's not for me today.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's incredible to me because people don't understand your journey to get you to Dover, to get you to Lake Erie, to get you to Lake Tahoe, to swim an ungodly amount. That it almost started with somebody saying, "Here, grab this and it'll all go away."
Right. Yeah. Well, I can't do that.
Yeah, we're not doing that. That's for sure. That's for sure. And I think also the willingness to go travel and actually volunteer or, support a race or support a friend in a race, and you picked probably, to your point, the best one in North America to go to because of the compact nature of Lake Placid, the energy, the way they shut the town down and all of that. But to go and experience it and then get, energized by the entire process to go, get that on-site sign up for the next year and then come back and race it yourself. I know I went through that same thing with Kenny when he went up for the first time. And I talked to my wife. I said, yeah, Kenny and I are going to Lake Placid and we get on-site signups the next day and I'm probably going to sign up. She said, I already knew that. Go ahead. So, but we get into the sport because we start to see other people like us, either spectating or racing. Some people have a misconceived impression of what a triathlete is. Ultimately, I believe triathlete is really a mindset. There's different bodies that people have and different speeds that people go, but to actually be a triathlete and to put yourself through the training, no matter what it is, no matter what your pace is on your run or your swim or your bike today or this race season, the mindset is exactly the same as a pro athlete that makes money doing it, that can go super fast, because the pain is exactly the same for everybody. It is non-discriminate on what it will give you and what it will feed you. So I think that's just really cool and really important. And I remember when I came through transition in T1, the first race that I met you, where you were, I had known you, but you were volunteering in the changing tent, and you're like, just rip that bag open and get your helmet on. And I'm like, no, I got to put my other stuff in the bag. But you took care of me and you got me going, and it was just awesome to see some friendly face in that transition area for my first race. I think my first full Ironman race.
It was good to be there to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that's always impressed me about you, and I've always been curious about, is that so you started as a triathlete, which all of us are. And if you think about the sport, by definition, there's the three disciplines. I think if you were to take a survey of triathletes, probably more often than not, people would say swimming is their least favorite of the three. But yet that's the thing that you went headfirst into, no pun intended, and excelled in for years beyond becoming a triathlete. So what was your connection with the swim?
Well, I can agree that swimming was the worst of my abilities, and I liked biking, and running was okay. So, but just getting in there and swimming and making it happen, and just keep on swimming. And we did. What did we do? We did. Chesapeake Bay. That was our first one, and Kenny told me a story of a guy Darren, who was doing Ocean 7, and I thought that was crazy. What the hell would you want to do that for? It's just too much. And so...
Yeah, that lasted about a week, by the way. We should do Chesapeake Bay, and this guy that may coach us was an Ocean 7 swimmer. Mm-hmm. Why the heck would you do that? Then about a week later, he's like, well, there is one in the Northern Channel in Ireland, and there is one over in London, and I'm thinking about this one over in Catalina, and then there's one in Hawaii. And I'm like, oh, so why would you do that? And you've just researched 4 out of the 7.
Yeah.
So, but swimming for me right now is just a pleasure. It's just really enjoyable, and just being there. You're by yourself. You got to think. I mean, you're not by yourself. I have you guys around me, but typically you're in the water and you get a lot of time to think and reflect, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah,
Scott, it is funny as we all coach our different athletes. A lot of them do say, I look at that swim as more of my pain. That's my pain in the butt. Just get me out of the water, and then I'm going to have fun the rest of the day. But there is an underwhelming amount of athletes that we have as well that are starting to say, man, I felt my baptism coming out of the water. Or I felt there's something about burying your face for an hour and all you hear is quiet and you just swim. And I hear it all the time, man, I didn't realize I could swim for 45 minutes straight. I didn't even think about one thing. It just, all of a sudden, it just clicked. And it is funny watching the people that used to hate it now are like, Coach, can you add another swim in? Hey, can I just swim whenever I would like? Yes. Yeah, because they're starting to find that peace that you found.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I remember when we started swimming, and 2,500 yards was an hour-long swim or something like that. And then just like, holy cow, I've got to be here for an hour, do this swim. It's going to take forever, And now it's, it's not that way anymore. It's like, cool, I've got a 5-hour swim. And or a 4-hour, whatever it is, and you're just going to plug away and just keep on going.
Oh, yeah.
So,
did you hear that term?
Oh, yeah. Keep plugging away, right? Keep plugging away.
Yeah.
That's a famous term. We got Tugboat on a video from Ironman during a race where there was a storm and it was raining and it was wet, and they rode up next to him on a motorcycle, and I got the camera on him while he's on his bike. And I don't know what they asked you specifically, but how is it out there? He's like, we keep on plugging away. So it was awesome. And I think Jay Nelly actually got another clip later that same day. So, the victory athletes, victory people, even though it was before victory, got a little press that particular day. But even that race, I was racing with you, and you talk about how peaceful the water can be. We were in the water not realizing there was a complete thunderstorm above us, because you can't hear it. You can't really hear the rain. You kind of felt a little bit when you'd come up to breathe something different, but it didn't really dawn on anybody in the water until they canceled the rest of the swim and made people like exit the water immediately because of lightning and some other things. But it reminded me of how you can really find a peaceful spot, and to have that kind of chaos going on above me and still just out there trying to get my 2.4 miles in was kind of amazing.
Well, it is funny because that same day, I was probably out of the water maybe 15 minutes ahead of you. Mm-hmm. So I missed it. And I was heading up to Keene Descent with the thunder coming. You were probably 5 or 10 minutes ahead of me, probably going down the hill on that 9-mile drop with all that. So like you're in there where it's more dangerous, where he could get killed in the water.
But I have no idea. I'm oblivious.
He's oblivious.
Yeah.
Him and I are like going 8 to 10 miles up that long hill, maybe 12 miles. And now we're going to be 55 miles and we're panicking because wet wheels, thin wheels, one quick move and we're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no brakes.
Oh, yeah. Tug, tell me, what's your favorite Ironman? What was the favorite one that you most remember? Would it have been your Placid one, your first one?
Yeah, Lake Placid, definitely the first Lake Placid I did.
Talk about that day. Like what went on that day in your mind, how you were thinking leading up to it.
I remember the swim. I wasn't too keen on it because it was a cannon start. And
I was in that with you. That was the last
cannon start.
Yeah. Where were you at when that went off?
I was in a space that was wide open. There's nobody there. And I thought, this is great. I can just swim.
Okay. So can I tell you, I was up in the front because I didn't know any better. And I'm treading water, warming up. And I hear him go, "This is the greatest thing in sports. It's the human washing machine." And I said, "What does that mean?" And all of a sudden the gun goes off And the guy's like, "You're about to find out." And everyone's on top of each other. I was probably up there with like Michael Phelps, not Michael Phelps, Andy Potts, and all those guys. And I'm getting just like, I wish I was where you were at, left alone. Like,
well, it didn't stay that way long for me because apparently I got in ahead of everybody else, and then they all came in. So I wasn't getting beat up, but it was a tight spot.
A little bit of traffic, huh?
Yeah.
A little bit of traffic.
Yep.
So you've done them where it's cannonball, and you've done them today's where they walk like 6 people in at a time.
Right.
What is your preference how they do it today?
I think so. Yeah, it makes a little more sense. You're not getting the hell beat out of you, you know.
But you kind of like that. I love the fact that I went through it.
Yeah.
I do
no,
like
it was exciting. You know, it certainly was exciting. But it was also fearful. You know.
Yeah,
a little
for
bit
sure.
of because you're getting kicked or smacked in the head or whatever. You know. But so that was it. Got through that swim on that. I remember coming out of the water the first round, and I'm like, "Oh, this is good." You know, get a little breath and you know, catch my breath, and then right back in and go again. The one thing at Lake Placid is they have the line under the water, and if you can stay on that line, you can really save time. Well, I thought I'd be smart and get off that line because everybody else wants to be on it, and so I'd zigzag all over. I don't know, I probably swam a hell of a lot further than 2.4 miles, but anyway, got through it. And then got on the bike, and you know, from then I don't remember all that much of it anymore.
What did you fuel on the bike? And I'm asking this for very, very
right.
It could have been potatoes, could have been steak. That's kind of what I ate. That's what I thought.
For anybody that knows Tug, and he's a testament of you don't have to have $1,000 wetsuit. You don't have to have an $800 tri-suit. In fact, you don't have to have Infinite or, you know, hydration packs or anything like that. I think you're running your gear that you would like to run and bike in. Aren't you sponsored by Hanes T-shirts?
I am. Yes, I am.
The V-neck, right?
V-neck, yeah. I think I got one on.
He does have one on.
Yeah.
And it's always an Achilles for me. Like, I'll get that random text like, "Hey, I saw the new Zoot store. Any cotton?" I'm like, I don't think Zoot specializes in cotton. Well, where can I get my cotton uniform? It goes to the uniform instead of the tri-suit, you know.
Yeah.
But it is funny because I think I think one of the things that I'm always so drawn to you is you are that true, if you don't have a horse, ride a cow.
Yeah.
In any way that means, like, I think, remember his aero bar was broke that one time and he had like a 2x4 strapped to his bike on one arm. And I said, I'm like, "Well, are you going to fix the other one?" And he's like, "Well, why would I ever do that, Ken? I have the one." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're going to be like, what are you going to do with the other?" I think the first time we ran with him, he instead of like one of those water bottles that straps to your hands, he had like a 2-gallon jug of water. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
With a handle on it.
It had a handle on it.
Milk jug.
Strapped to his bike, I think, too.
Yeah, well, just use it. Whatever you got. It's all that matters.
Yeah,
You'll get there.
dance with the one that brought you, right?
Just get there. Yeah, however you get it.
Use what you've got, make the best of it, train on it, use it in a race.
Yeah.
If you have an opportunity at a later time to get a new piece of kit, do it. But you don't have to do that from the very beginning, and you don't have to constantly do it. You know, I think one of the things I was thinking about this week, because there's been some athletes that are, you know, having some chatter about some things, is you're never going to buy your way to the finish line, right? You're never going to buy enough, you know, stuff that's going to get you to the finish line. You're going to train your way to the finish line. You're going to finish your workouts. You're going to stay consistent as you possibly can with everything getting in your way, because everything will try to get in your way. Life will get in your way. Jobs will get in your way. Headaches, you know, whatever, get in your way. Weather gets in your way. Everything will try to get in your way. But if you continue to be consistent and you train through those things and you get the training done, that's what's going to carry you to the finish line. Yeah, you might be a few seconds faster or a little bit, you know, more comfortable, or, you know, some other aspect of whatever that piece of kit would deliver, but that's not the core. The core is the training. The core is the doing the work. I think that
Core is not today.
one of our
Lifeguard
guys,
is not
good,
today.
good friend Brad Schmidt, right? He posted a long time ago. I still have a screenshot of it, but the grind knows. Right? A grind is only going to give you back what you put into the grind. And I thought that was just the best analogy, metaphor for Ironman and for triathlon, because that is exactly the root cause equation. If everything else, how much did you train? That's how the race is going to go.
Input, output.
Input, output.
Yeah. My first bike was I think it was a Schwinn mountain bike.
Yeah.
And got me through it. So then I eventually did buy a road bike. But
And you've ridden that same bike. I mean,
I have that same bike since 2011.
and I'm kind of the bike guy, right? I have one bike. I've only owned one bike.
Right.
I went to the store. I said, I'm doing Ironman. They're like, okay, you need this. Okay, I got it. And I've used it in every single one of my races, my sprints, my Olympics, my training. I rode it at the Grand Fondo. It's a TT bike. People are like, whoa, this is like some hills here. I'm like, dance with the one that brought you, bro. This is what I'm going to race on. This is what I'm going to train on. So, it's a good thing. It's just a point we wanted to make on the cast today, that you don't need everything fancy. It's more about if you are investing in your input,
Right.
to get that output.
Yeah, you got to put the work in to get
That's right.
out what you get. So
Yeah, I remember that race too vividly. I think either the night of or the night before, you came over to my house and we prayed together.
Yeah.
Just to, hey, I think it was the night before. We're about to endure it. We're going to go through it. And that was the first time I'm like, man, that guy's pretty dope. Like he's just a good guy. Like he's going to go out there and bust chops. And it was never, what time's he going to do? Because a lot of our athletes at times will compare themselves to other people. And somebody said it, Kate said it last night, an athlete was talking about, I ran 6 miles to Ryan Sippel's 17. I want to be that guy one time just to feel what it's like to be that fast. And she immediately said, Kate did, run your race, girl. And be proud of that. And I love that. And
Yep.
and that's in our journey. We've always ran our race.
the only people you're competing against yourself in your head, and there's other people around you, but you're the guy there doing it, and you do the best you can, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. There was a Jay Bird sent a thing out the other day that was a guy saying, if you think the cost of winning is expensive, wait till you see the cost of regret,
Sure.
the bill for regret. And think about your life. What if you would have said to that lifeguard, throw it to me, I'm done.
I wouldn't be here today.
No, I mean,
Here at
think
all.
about that.
Right. Yeah.
Because you were wired differently. You were wired to win.
Sure.
And winning to you may look different than it does to Ryan or Brian Leak or, Tommy Dip. I mean, it looks different.
Right. Crossing the finish line is winning.
Correct.
It's not that you did it in 8 hours or 16 hours. It's that you did it, and that's all you got to worry about.
Yeah. When you first started, what made you say Ironman was going to be the race?
I guess watching Ed, do it, and just seeing that was a good race. It's good versus other ones that were out there. I liked it.
Yep.
So.
And you liked it. So you finished the first one, like 14 hours, 13 hours, somewhere in there?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay. So then you liked it so much, you came back the next 2 years, right?
Right. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that first year, it would have been just you and I out there,
Right.
with our crew that came to support.
Right.
Then the next year,
I think he volunteered because that's when I saw him on my first race. So then I did the next year, 2012 with you, or 2013, sorry.
I volunteered. Yeah.
Yeah, you volunteered a year in the middle, and then you came back and raced again with us in 2016.
Right.
For sure. That's the famous picture of us all in the finish line area with our good friend.
oh,
Right?
yeah.
Murph sitting in the chair. We got him in and got his medal, and then we were all there to support him in that race of his. So I know those are the big ones that you've done so far. And then I think from that point, after 2016, you started to work on the other things, because I think then that's when we went to Chesapeake.
He had one more. Yeah, you had one more Ironman after
Did,
that
Maryland.
Oh, that's right.
with Coach Scott. That's
right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we were all in there. And there is something to be said. Like, you don't overly love doing the distances, right? But you love the fact that I'm doing it with Scott and I'm doing it with Sarge, and
Yeah.
the group is doing it together. That's that misery and loves company.
Exactly.
And to me, there's nothing greater on Placid. And Steven and Spencer and you and Murph will feel that this year, like knowing that they're out there and seeing them on those like switchbacks where you go out like 3 miles and you come back, and to see your teammate and you exchange the nods like, yeah, I see you, and you give them a yeah, or you pump them up. Like seeing Harley and Sniper like this year, it was great. It means the world to you that you're not dying in silence. You're like with your group and you guys are getting through it together.
Right there, encouraging each other where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
So really quick, because I've heard multiple people. Where did Tugboat come from? Do you remember it?
Came from the pool one day.
It did.
Yeah.
I just started calling him Tugboat, and I've heard people say, man, I don't know what it means. I want that nickname. It's now just Tug. If you know him, it's or Boat. Either or. And I, honest to God, I've given a lot of people nicknames, and that may be one of my favorite. And the reason being is, to me, a tugboat in Bermuda goes out to sea and it pulls in the cruise ships. It leads them in. And it'll be the one that has to go out and show them how to pivot and turn around so they don't hit anything. A tugboat to me is battle tested. A tugboat can withstand heavy water. A tugboat is solid, and it's just a BA, man, just a badass. And I love the fact that you hold that title, because you lead people to things. You're sturdy. You're not going to back down. Hey, if the water is heavy, I'm here. I got you. I'm swimming with you. I remember the Pittsburgh swim. You were the first person that came with tears in your eyes to hug me. And I'll always remember that, man. And that's why I named you Tugboat, because of those attributes that you bring day in and day out, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
But,
And you've embraced it. You love it.
Oh, I love it.
I think it's on your business cards now, isn't it?
I think it's on his shirt.
On the
And
back of his shirt.
on the back of my
right?
shirt.
I think
yeah.
Karen has Tugboat's wife on her shirt.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
have T-shirts for Victory that say "We know Tugboat." Like,
Yeah. We're known as the Tuggles family.
yeah. So, Tom, what led you to move into swimming? So we know that it wasn't your favorite, but what moved you? Was it injuries? Was it longevity? Was it doing something different?
It was a little bit of all of that. I'm an old man, so I hurt. My knees hurt. My back hurts. Swimming doesn't do that for me. I don't have the knees pains or the back pains or anything. So it helps me to stay healthy, right, and keep on with the group.
Being active, right? Being active and being able to participate, and
Right.
and frankly pushing the envelope and showing people out there that there's there are other things you can move on to, and there's even bigger goals that you can try to challenge yourself with,
Right.
even after being a multiple Ironman triathlete.
Yeah.
You went on and you got into Chesapeake Bay, and then that led to a number of other swims, 30K swims and on up, right?
Yeah, we did. Chesapeake Bay was the first long distance swim we did.
Yeah, it's
you and I did together.
4.4 miles.
Yeah.
4.4 miles.
Yeah. Then
And that's usually a wetsuit swim at our coach at that time. And it was rough. I think there was small craft advisory. And he's like, yeah, just go without it. And,
Yeah.
and we're standing there and we're in Speedos, because in those races, you can't even wear the jammers down to the knees.
Right.
So this is a Zoot plug. So for all the boys that asked for Speedos, they are here. We have Victory Speedos now. And it's going to be great seeing everyone in the pool with them. So, but yeah, that was our first race, the Chesapeake Bay, right?
yeah, it was, and it was good. It was rough though, like you said. It was they said there's a barge out there you can stop and get a drink, and
We
we
didn't
never
see
saw
it.
it. Yeah, so I don't know where it was, but it wasn't on our route.
There is something really weird about being in the water like that for that long. I think we were in it for 250 or 245.
Yeah, yep,
And just that laying parallel where only really one eye is seeing.
yeah,
And I remember it in Tampa where Ron was trying to blow the whistle, or you might have been like, let's eat. And I'm seeing that big, like the channel marker, which I think is small.
Right.
And then you get up to it and it's massive.
Right.
And he's like, you should have ate like 10 minutes ago. We went an extra like 800 yards because, I just conceptually couldn't see the distance. But yeah, I mean, that was such a cool swim. I'll always remember that because you didn't really have to sight. We just had to stay in between the bridges, right?
yeah.
and how big they were above us.
Right. They're huge. Yeah. And so, yeah, just if you could stay in the middle of them, you're doing okay, and we did.
Yeah, we were almost hand by hand that whole time.
Yeah, we stuck by each other.
So when we first started that, I remember you said, I might just give it a go and we'll see how it goes.
Right.
But when you came out of the water, you had your eyes on bigger things.
Yeah. We knew about the Pittsburgh swim, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the next thing we did. And that was 18 miles in the rivers. And that was a good one. It was 12 hours, or just under 12 hours for me.
Yep.
And so that took some time. And I remember I didn't really follow the rules of open water swimming at the time. I kind of latched onto a kayak and sat up there and ate some potatoes or something. I don't know what I had. But
no honey stingers, no gels?
No, none of that. So that's what I did. And finished that race and went from there to Lake Erie.
Lake Erie. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
So go. What are the distances? So we know we've done a 4.4.
We did 4.4, 18.
18.75, I think, because it was a 30K.
30K.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then Lake Erie was 24 miles.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about that there, because that's you held a record on that one for a while.
Yeah.
So what was
and for everybody listening, that Lake Erie is you get boated across to Canada, and then you start swimming.
Right.
You stand up on the shore in Canada.
From Long Point, Ontario, we started
Long
out.
Point, Ontario. So you have to fax your passport. You can't email it. You can't scan it. You can't take a picture of it. You have to fax it to the Canadian government to get your permission to enter Canada, and then you stand up on shore, and then you begin swimming back to northeast Pennsylvania, which is the 24 miles.
4 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that boat ride started at 3:30 in the morning, I believe.
Correct.
And
we got on a fishing boat at 3:30 to go flying across the lake for
24 miles, 2-hour boat ride.
Yep.
So
were you edgy that 2 hours? Were you starting to get a little anxious?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's the unknown, right? So just fear the unknown, things like that.
So you don't just get to Erie because you came out of that 4.4 mile swim. What did your trainings have to look like leading up to that?
They were a lot of time in the pool.
Like a lot of time, like an hour? Or
No, a lot of
8
time,
hours?
like 8 hours, 5 hours long, 10,000 yards.
What were your average yardage weeks?
I was doing anywhere 30 to 50,000 yards a week.
30 to 50,000, which is about 20 miles, right? Yeah. That's about, isn't a 10K about?
10K 6.2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, depending on the week. But there was a lot of big weeks in there. And I swam a lot. I mean.
And your fueling pattern, Tom, on there, Darren had you, was it every hour?
30 minutes. We'd eat every 30 minutes. Sarge fed me the second feeding. I think McDara was in first.
Yeah. We had McDara, Ron Schmoll, and myself were 2 hours at a time on kayaks, on a kayak that we brought with us. So we stuffed the kayak in the fishing boat at 3:30 in the morning. It's pitch black dark. It was clear. The sky was completely clear. Stars. It was beautiful. We have a great couple of pano pics from that morning. We flew across the lake all the way up the 24 miles to get to Canada. And I think about 5:30 in the morning, they were like, okay, now it's on you. And they said, jump in the water. So he had to jump in the water and swim ashore, stand up, and then he could begin coming back south.
Right.
And then we had McDara was on the first round, and I think I took the second shift. And then we just kept switching off every 2 hours of tracking next to you. So the fishing boat kept the GPS, waypoints, guiding the overall track. But you couldn't swim really next to the fishing boat because it had a diesel engine.
Right. And
so it stank and tasted like hell.
It tasted bad.
So Tug would be 20, 25 yards off of one side and kind of ahead of the boat. So he didn't have to swim in the fumes.
Right.
And then the kayak was next to him so that on every breath he knew he was
sighting the right way. So every breath he knew if he was getting too far away from the kayak, he had to come back, or if he was cramping it, he was,
pushing into it.
So helped him guide. And then we had water bottles on a string, or full of gas,
right,
and pre-mixed. We had little sandwich packs and
ham sandwiches.
Yeah, sandwich packs and Ziplocs.
Yeah, first sandwich I got from you, I believe it was. You gave me half, and so I'm trying to bite into this sandwich, and I ended up under the water. So it was a wet sandwich.
Soggy sandwiches. Soggy. So
that wasn't the best one.
Yeah, that wasn't the best one.
Hey, Sarge, hold on one sec. So Taum, when you eat, so the crowd knows, and I know the answer, but you can't stand up and you can't hold on.
No, right? You can't hold on to anything.
So
you got
the
to tread
reason
water.
you sunk was because you were trying to tread water when the sandwich came in.
Yeah, he can't even touch the kayak. Right. We could hand him the sandwich bag or the water bottle. And usually, even the liquid, we would just toss the water bottle out ahead of him on a string, and he would just swim into it, and then realize it was time to eat. And he would drink that, and then we'd reel in the bottle.
Yeah.
From there.
And Taum, this is pretty serious. You actually had a referee on the boat too, right?
Oh, yeah.
To manage.
Yep.
He stood up. He pushed off, all of that stuff to make sure this is a legit swim.
Everything I did, they marked. How many strokes, how many times I eat, how many times I go to pee. I had to go to the bathroom. They wrote it down. So.
And he had the master clock. So that official on the back of the fishing boat had a master time tracker, right? And I think, he was tracking GPS of where he was, the official, which they used as an approximate for pace, distance, and I guess it didn't happen. But if you didn't make it, they would know how far you made it because they track those failures too and how far people make it across.
That's a lot of logistics. How far in advance did you have to plan all of this?
Oh, we were... 6 months, I think, about something like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, by the time everybody had to send their passports in, that took a while, right? And so I'm going to say probably 6 months, 4 to 6 months time frame.
And it's a little bit of getting a slot too, right? I think it was the association. There was an association.
Erie Swim Association.
Erie Swim Association.
Permission from them. And
get a slot.
Was that the first step? Reaching out to them, saying, here's the interest. And
Yep. Yeah, you have to talk to them, and they're very good, very helpful. They do a lot of the work for you as far as, I guess you have, other than the passport, but you have to give that to the Canadians. But they just help with the paperwork and filling it out and knowing where to go and who to talk to.
Did you hear about this through your former swim coach?
I did. Darren brought it up one day and talking about it, and so we just planned on trying it out. So
just trying it out.
Take a crack at it.
Take a crack. Give it a crack.
Yeah.
And what time of year was it?
That was my swim was supposed to happen in May, 30th of May, and they had 3 foot waves that day, so we canceled till the next day. So that was first of June, I think. And
what was the water temp? Do you remember?
60 degrees.
And you were in a Speedo.
Speedo, goggles, hat. Yeah. And
how did you prep for the cold water?
That one we didn't do too much really. It was, I guess, cold showers was a lot of that because I didn't put a pool up until later, and so we just swam in the rain. That was cold, So I did a 10-mile qualifier in Moraine. So that's a lot of back and forth.
That is.
Yeah, we had to. I know Karen was there, helped us out a lot. I think there was 5 layers of sunscreen or 4 layers of sunscreen that started with a. So if we left at 3:30 from the boat dock, you were up at 2.
Right. Hot
shower, like a base layer of sunscreen, then 2 or 3 more, and then the final was on the boat with the AD ointment or
Desitin.
whatever. Yeah, the Desitin
baby,
across your back because if you really think about it, it was a clear day, complete sun exposure. He's laying face down in the water for
14 hours, 22 minutes.
14 hours and 22 minutes. Now, it got dark at some point, so it wasn't the entire 14 hours, but really the bulk of that 14 hours you're laying with your back and the back of your head exposed to the sun. So, and I think that, as much as we tried to prep you up, you still got a little sunburn.
A little bit. Not too bad.
In a couple places, right?
So. Not too bad. But, So that was the longest distance of 500 yards was looking at when you guys turned to take the boat back with the
Correct.
captain, you left me there with McDara, and then there was a fireboat from the local fire department had a fireboat out there, brand new one, and they had lights on it. It was pretty cool, actually, and you could see the beach. It was 500 yards away, and I said to McDara, "How far is that?" And she says, the fireman says, "It's about 500 yards." I said, "You sure, McDara? That's 500 yards. That's pretty far." It looked like, I don't know if I could go that far.
It does look like that, doesn't it?
It's huge. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And so anyway, thank God we made it,
Yeah, it
So
got so shallow towards the end that the fishing boat had to pull out and they couldn't get into the shore. So they had a flat bottom volunteer fire department boat, and the kayak could continue on to protect him and do the last 500. So we didn't actually, Ron and I didn't actually get to see him completely finish, right, that minute. I think we hung around a little bit. We did see you sit down in the chair. So we stayed. As soon as he walked onto land, we booked it over to the marina again and then had to follow back up.
And,
So
what was the record that you held?
that was the oldest man to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that is in dispute. There was a guy called me and said he was the oldest. I said, okay.
Tell him you're going to meet him in the back alley.
So,
tell him you'll meet him in Canada and you guys will race.
Yeah.
Next
He'll
time.
show him exactly why you're tugboat.
yeah. But that was all right. If he was the oldest, that's fine by me. So
So, Tom, you came out of that swim and you had another dream, right?
yeah. That all came about as a friend of mine, Jim, who had some cancer that I thought I would raise some funds for. And we did. We raised $10,000 for Leukemia Lymphoma Society.
And what swim was that?
It was called Swim for Jim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where was it, though?
It was in England. English Channel. Yeah, we went to England in September of 2021 for a window to swim in the end of September. So we went there to acclimate and get used to the water. But here we practiced in a pool. We put a pool up in my shop, and you were in it. You were in it, Sarge, yeah.
Yep.
And so that was a 14 foot by 7 foot pool, 3 feet deep. And
I think you'll have to describe how you get 2 or 3 hours in a 7 foot by 14 foot pool with the tethers, right? You
well, we
tether
started
your
off
feet.
with tethers. Yeah, yeah. We started off tethering and trying to swim, but for whatever the reason, the pool wasn't deep enough to do it comfortably. So to swim comfortably, so decided that I'd just sit in there and I just face down and just did sculling for however long I stayed in the water. And
That temperature wasn't 70 degrees, though, right?
no, that temperature was about 58 to 62 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Because the hardest part, it's about the same distance, the English Channel and Erie, correct? Give or take a mile or two with current?
Yep.
But what's the more challenging part of English Channel?
Well, there's what's the busiest shipping channel in the world? There's saltwater, jellyfish, things like that. So that's the hardest part about it all.
What's the temperatures?
60. And I think Erie Channel was more straight across, whereas the English Channel it's more like an S. You have to kind of go up this way and then kind of back down and back over to get to...
Because of the currents,
because of the
right? So
current,
you actually start swimming north, and as you push further east, the current pushes you south.
Right.
And then you end up swimming north again at the very end as you get towards France.
Right.
Because the current, you have to break that current, or you get out and it goes the other way throughout the day.
Right.
As it takes you throughout the day, the current ebbs and flows up north and south through the channel.
Yeah, and you could actually get stuck in it too. Right?
Correct.
So you could just not go anywhere.
Be swimming
for
and
an
not
hour,
go
a
anywhere.
couple of hours. You're just swimming. So unfortunately, we didn't get to experience any of that. We got to swim in the bay.
Well,
And
yeah, and that was not even in your control. That's where God stepped in, and
Right.
the wind and the current. But there's something about that water, getting in that water.
Yeah.
And you went in without a wetsuit on. I went in with a wetsuit on, and it was still frigid as can be. Takes your breath away for that first.
first minute or two, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Feels like you have an ice cream headache
Yep.
on your
Right.
face and on your head, and you can see how people get disoriented.
Yeah.
You know, and but I remember several times that those evenings where we'd be out having dinner, and we think tomorrow we're going to go, and we're looking out at that one restaurant. I think you danced that night to that one song. You did dance. It was great. But you could look out and you could see France.
Yeah.
The lights on over there. And, oh my God, I think we're going to go. And then we're starting to get our minds right. And the intensity that I felt, and all I was going to be is on the ship.
Right.
And you were just relatively calm. You were more worried about performing for Jim,
right?
Than you were about what was going to happen in the water, right. In the next couple hours or the next day,
right?
It was just intense, man.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of excitement, I think, and not, just trying to get done.
There was a tremendous amount of anticipation because, just for everybody listening, again, it's an association that controls who can swim when. You have to get a slot,
right.
And your slot is only for a certain number of days. If the weather doesn't cooperate within those days, you're out, right? Because the boat captain, the captain that's practiced and has the responsibility for getting you across or guiding you across, has the ultimate authority of whether it's a go or no go.
Right.
Along with the athlete. If the athlete doesn't want to go, they're not going to make you, but if they say the weather's too bad, you're not going.
Right. You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. So we had 10 days of every day getting ready almost.
Right.
Maybe not every day, but most days getting ready or getting your mind right to be able to go tomorrow, just in case it was the right day, because it could have been go.
Right.
And then everything had to start, right? You had to get, the food and the nutrition and all the gear that we would have on the boat that you would need to support you and be ready to be up at midnight to go down to the dock at 1:30 in the morning to start swimming at like 2, I believe.
Right, yeah, you'd swim starting early, dark.
Yeah, you swim in the dark for the biggest chunks of the whole day.
Right.
And so unfortunately, it didn't align. The weather did not change really hardly at all the whole time we were in England. And you were, it was a no-go from a safety perspective every single time. So right. I don't think that was, I know for a fact that was not any unwillingness on anybody's part other than we just couldn't fight
weather
the
wouldn't cooperate.
Because we know that you hit a pretty significant milestone in your training leading up to that.
I did.
How much did you swim to get ready for the channel?
I swam 1.1 million yards.
1.1 million yards
Jeez.
Of training swims.
Yeah.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
But the funny thing is, one of our athletes, Gab, she had an 11-mile run today, and she said on Wednesday, "Oh, I'm just trying to get my mind right about that." And she ran 10 before, but it was that 11th mile that was like, I don't know, I'm just getting it right. And there's something with endurance athletes, like I don't know if you guys ever feel it, but I start getting apprehensive if I have to do an 18-mile run or a 20-mile run because I know what that's going to be like and I know what that's going to do to my body. And you start thinking about it. The times when we had an 8-hour swim or a 6-hour swim or a 10-hour swim, I was always like, oh man, I'm really dreading that. I wish I could just do it now and get it over with because my mind is thinking about it.
Sure.
And anytime I knew you were going to be there, you never let any of it bother you. You were just like, yeah, we're just going to swim. We're going to swim.
Right.
We have 16 increments that we have to do today of 30 minutes. And we'll laugh about it. At the one time, you're like, I think I just peed in the pool, Ken. And I'm like, great, because I'm behind you. And you're like, do you want some steak? And I'm like, no. And the lady got all weird. He asked the lady if she wanted some steak and potatoes. And the lady switched lanes. And he's screaming. I
moved to the side real quick.
No, because if you know Tug, he can't hear really well because he's always yelling real loud. And he's like, I think I just farted real bad in the pool, Ken. And I'm like, what's real bad? Is there follow through?
Is there different? Yeah.
Is there a different
levels?
kind? Yeah. Yeah. What level is it? And I'm always behind him when he's doing it. And I'm thinking, thanks, man. At least you warned me instead of just tapping me like, hey, go over there. But I guess the reason I bring that up is your mindset never changed. Whether if it was a 1-mile swim, a 24-mile swim, you're always locked in on the task at hand. And it's so cool watching you consistently show up with goals that would frighten the heck out of people. And you just keep saying, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. Not today, lifeguard.
Yeah, they scare me too. But you got your mindset on something, you're going to guess the only way to do it is do it. So sometimes when I'm out there swimming, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And then I just keep. I know what I'm doing.
What have I got myself into?
Yeah. And then he says,
but the only way to get out of it is to finish the workout, right?
You can't not finish. So
that's right.
It's just there. You'll be out sooner you get to it, the sooner you get done.
That's right.
You know.
So, Tom, we have unfinished business in England.
We do.
So what's next on your radar?
Well, got the Ironman Lake Placid in this July.
And what's going to be special about that race?
It's going to be my last race.
So we're going to retire. We leaving our bike and running shoes there like wrestlers leave their...
Yeah, maybe I'll leave my shoes.
Keep your bike.
Keep the bike. Yeah. So
You're 8.5 wides. We're going to leave him at the finish line.
Leave him there. So, but yeah, so that's the last Ironman I'm gonna do, and gonna swim from there.
How are your emotions going to be with that? Because that's been a big part of your life. Are you've come to terms with it, or you're going to have a moment that day?
I'll probably tear up a little bit, but
we're going to be there.
Yeah, we'll manage. We'll get through it.
Oh yeah,
and it's just fun to think about being done. It's as much as it is to do it. It's it's going to be enjoyable to say I cheer you guys on next year. I'll be here for you next year to do your run and bike and whatnot. But so that's it. That's it for Ironman for me.
So you leaned in Friday night when we were having a little happy hour with the crew, and you said Ocean 7 again. So that has now been brought back up.
I keep thinking of that, and English Channel's one of the 7, and North Channel's another one. So that's probably where I'm headed. Gonna just get in there and see how far I can go.
Give it a crack.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that been doing it for 6 and 8 years that haven't had the opportunity to finish for a number of reasons, whatever they may be. But I'm going to try and whether it takes me 2 years or 10 years, see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely, Tug, and that's another important point for the listeners is that the DNF rate is pretty high. Because there's a lot of different factors, and it's not because of the training or the people that show up. But all of them are dedicated and have dedicated a tremendous amount of hours to doing what they do for channel swims or this Lake Erie style 24-mile swims. But weather and just a lot of different issues. So for you to go to Erie and complete that in your first go, that's not everybody.
No,
right?
It's
and
not actually. I was.
One of the oldest, if not the oldest.
Yeah.
Still debatable.
I was 19 out of 107 who actually finished that race.
Correct.
Yeah. So, not everybody gets to finish.
Right. So just making sure everybody understood that the determination, the training, the effort, and your attitude that carries you through all the things that you do in life brought you to that finish in Erie, and would have brought you to the finish in the English Channel, given the proper conditions for safety.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's where we're at. So, I think I will. I'll do Lake Placid, and then dedicate my time to swimming. And
I hear you may be looking into some swim coaching too.
I'm looking at it. Yep. Yeah, I want to. Helping people and encouraging people is something I enjoy doing. And I may not go about it the right way. Sometimes I cuss, but
we all do.
Yeah, it's just who I am. It doesn't mean I don't want to do the. I don't know. Just get out there and do it. And help you as best I can.
Yep.
So, but I want to say thank you to you guys for giving me the opportunity.
Oh,
and being a part of Victory is as an athlete and as a friend and just being here with you guys is just enjoyable. It's like seeing family every day whenever we're together. I see my siblings and I get real happy. I see you guys, I just get as happy. And I love you all, and just being with you makes my day.
It's awesome.
So.
So
it's like being with family.
I love it. I have one last parting shot I want to say is, if from your journey of sprint triathlon to 5-time Ironman finisher to channel swimmer, what would you tell that person right now that's stuck in life, that's not sure where they want to go? They have something on their heart. what would you give him, that bit of Tugboat's advice?
I'd say follow your dream. That's all you got, you know. Everybody has something in their heart they want to do. Just go do it. And even you don't have to be number one. You just have to be, right? And so whatever dreams you have, do them to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
You know?
Be the best version of you,
Exactly.
whatever that is. And everybody's unique, and everybody's challenges are unique.
Yeah.
Even though triathlon will bring out very similar, personalities in people, and,
Right.
and find those that will stick to a plan and get things done. Everybody's got their own race to run, and comparisons to others, highly unnecessary. Comparison to yourself and being better than you were yesterday, 100% necessary and required.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yep.
3 best words in endurance sports. I did it.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
And it doesn't even have to be endurance sport, just something. Just get out there and walk.
Agreed.
Right? Do what you can do. Not everybody can do what we do, but everybody can do something.
Well said.
Just 2 out of the 5 podcast Harleys, I wanted to, so I did. Yours is not today.
Right.
Not today, lifeguard.
Not today, lifeguard. That's the title.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. Not today, lifeguard. Because if that lifeguard would have thrown it in,
Or blown the whistle and made other people cut you out.
Right.
you may be still smoking. You may still be drinking.
Right.
You may still be like not viewed upon the community like you are now. But you've drew a line in the sand and said, dang it, I'm worth more and I have more in me and I'm going to go chase it down.
Yeah.
Not today.
That's right. So get out there and do it.
Awesome. Tugboat, thank you very much
you.
for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Tug.
Friendship.
Thanks, Coach Scott, Coach Kenny. We really appreciate everybody that's been listening to now episode 6 of the Victory Multisport podcast. Please find us on Spotify, Google, Apple, and on YouTube. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.